Hello, hello everyone, and welcome to this live webinar. Um, we're excited to have you here and to be, with us today to talk about data science as a career path. I'm just waiting a bit for more people to start joining the live stream. It's very exciting. This is an exciting week for us at Zaka because this is our career fair week. So this marks the end of the current cohort for our certification program, which means we have a batch of machine learning engineers that are graduating this week. And because it's the career fair week, it's focused on careers. We thought it's a great opportunity to launch our new career track, which is data science. And we'll talk more about that throughout the webinar today. But I'd like first to welcome our speakers. We have excellent guests with us today. I'm going to quickly introduce them, and then I'm going to ask each one to introduce themselves in more details. We have with us Raymond, Younan, who's the Data and Analytics Manager at Paragon Shift. And we also have Mohammad, Arshad, who's a lead data scientist. So can you please introduce yourselves in more details? And we'll start with Raymond.
Hello. So, hi, my name is Raymond. I currently work in data with Paragon Shift, where we're gonna spend some time telling you what we do and how we improve ourselves as data analysts. And data scientists. I've been working with data since 2009 and through a lot of industries, mainly in Lebanon.
Great. Thank you, Raymond. We'll dig more deeper into your experience, into your background, and into the work that you do at Paragon Shift in a moment. But first, let's go to Mohammad Arshad, or Arshad in short. Please introduce yourself, briefly tell us about your experience, but leave some exciting parts for the conversation.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Arshad. So I'm a data science professional with 16 years of experience in companies like Majid Al Futtaim, Accenture, and Hewlett Packard, where I have delivered 20 plus analytics projects ranging from almost all the aspects of the data science component. I can talk to you later more about my experiences with data and any specific questions you have regarding your career. Thank you.
Thank you, Arshad, for the introduction. Just give us a second. Yeah, I believe we have some delay in showing your face. Here you are. Should we continue, or just give me a second? I believe we have an issue with the live stream. I'm just double check if we need to restart or we can continue this stream. Okay, we are going to continue. So again, thank you both for joining us today. I hope it's going to be an exciting discussion. And again, we're here to discuss data science and specifically data scientist as a position, as a role, or as a career path. So I'm going to start by kind of briefly asking you to define what is data science. I know that we're not here to give lectures, right? But I believe sometimes the field has too many terminologies that can confuse people. We have artificial intelligence, sometimes it's used as data science. We have a lot of different things. So let's start first by agreeing on the terminology. What is data science? And then we can start by describing the role of data scientists and the task that they handle. So I'm going to start with you, Arshad, since you're on the screen. What is data science for you? How would you define it yourself?
Yeah, so basically this is a term that has recently come up, data science. So this was not there earlier on. So basically, if you can define it, it is a field of study that combines your domain expertise, programming skills, and your knowledge of maths and stats to extract meaningful insights from the data and solve a business problem. So basically, there are a lot of things nowadays: machine learning, artificial intelligence, deep learning. These are basically like your tools in your toolkit. And basically, data science is just a complete path that a person takes to come into the picture and solve the business problem, whatever it may be. So just I can give you you can say analog comparison. Basically, like suppose a plumber comes in, you have a problem in your bathroom, some leakage is happening. So basically he will come here and analyze the problem. It may be a small leak that can be solved just by applying some adhesive tapes, or it can be issue in the supply. The supply is very fast, and because of that there is some issue in the pump. So he will basically, as a plumber, the different tools are there with him. If he wants to use machine learning, or if he wants to use deep learning, or if he wants to use advanced AI, but he has to basically solve the problem of fixing the water supply. So basically that is what it is. Just a very complicated thing of mentioning, but it is very simple. Your focus should be on solving the business problem or building AI product. It depends upon the business need, and these are different toolkits. So deep learning can become more advanced. It can use neural network and all those things. And but most of the problems are solved first initially by simple methods, and then only if that is not solving the problem, you go for the more advanced method. So this is the whole. I hope this is a simple analogy can explain what data science is, but it would sure look like if there's some more questions about it.
Definitely. I'm going to jump to Raymond and see if Raymond has a different way of defining it. And maybe also, Raymond, you can tell us maybe the link between data science and artificial intelligence, because AI, everyone speaks of AI, but is it the same as data science, or it's something else?
Well, I totally agree with what Arshad said, and I love the comparison he did. So can I use it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So for us, when we talk about data science, we talk about it as an umbrella with a lot of things beneath it. So beneath it, one part of it is AI. As of when we talk about AI, it's an umbrella, and a lot of things are beneath it, including the machine learning, the computer vision, speech detection. So same thing for data science. While a machine learning engineer is just one part of the whole data science community or whatever. So in data science, we look at AI as one part of it, and other parts of it falls under the analytics. And looking at the data of the previously owned data to get some intelligence out of it in order to make decisions. And then this is one part, the other part is the AI. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know the difference. I hope the audience got a clear understanding of what is data science. And okay, perfect. So let's jump right into the topic of today. If someone is working as a data scientist, what would they be doing? What is like a typical, not going to say a typical day, but the typical tasks that a data scientist usually works on during their workday? Arshad, we go back to you to start.
As I agree with Raymond, like data science is the whole ecosystem, and generally, as a data scientist, as you grow in experience, you are basically expected to at least know everything, at least to do everything, starting from the requirement gathering. So that is the first thing for understanding the business problem, getting the requirements, seeing the different data sources, making sure that there's no data leakage, there's data consistency, and then seeing what you can do with the data. What is how you can link the business problem to the data problem. So you may require creating a lot of features. It may require creating dependent variables, or it depends upon the problem. I'm just giving an example, and then do a lot of EDAs, do some testing. So the thing is, I'm stressing more on the data part because 80% of our time goes in these things to make sure what the data is, what is the insights from the data. And after all that is done, then we do the machine learning part. We apply, we start with simple models, and then if that is answering the question, it is fine. And depends upon the business requirement. If they want interpretable models, so we use simple models which we can interpret the coefficients. If they want accuracy, then we go for some advanced models. So that depends upon the business. So as and we have a team for sure. Like some people are expert in data side, who are special, and these are a little bit junior resources who are like we can say data analysts or data engineers who help you in the first part. And the machine learning engineering is also a part who helps in doing the feature engineering, and as well and running the model and doing the accuracy interpretation and all those things. But as a data scientist, you have to be at the whole journey, and you have to see what is everything linking together, and is the business liking your approach, and is it getting value. So that is a data scientist work, especially an experienced data scientist. He should be at least familiar. He may not. So basically, you can say a word. A data scientist is not a specialist, he's a generalist. He should know all the components, he should know wherein what to do. And for specialist roles, like as Raymond was saying, there are machine learning engineers, data engineers there. And if you are focusing on that line, you can become a specialist in that. But generally in business nowadays, a data scientist is like a generalist who has to know everything, because if you cannot run a machine learning without having proper data pipeline. So that is my thoughts about it.
Interesting. So you see a data scientist as someone who can basically do all the tasks on the different steps of the machine learning project lifecycle, let's say, from data processing, cleaning, exploring, all the way to building models. And also in the deployment phase, do you also think a data scientist is someone who deploys models and monitors them in production, or monitors them and like after being deployed?
So the later part also happens, but that is in the stage after your output is being received, like well received, and then your whatever output you're giving, your building reports you're showing, and if it is in the next stage, if the business likes it, because I'm sure there are a lot of iterations, the business will want some changes, and after all that is fixed, after suppose a model is fixed, the scoring methodology is fixed, then we try to automate it using MLOps, wherein we will try to have all the things automated, and then we will have final output. And as we know that in these real time scenarios, these MLOps, even the models that are there, they have to be refreshed regularly, because as the data changes, the recency factor and the new attributes that keep coming, so the models needs to be retrained. But the MLOps component comes in later on when they want to automate things. But before that part, there is a lot of work that goes in to make sure that the outputs are in sync with the business. And we require, and especially you are saying we do tasks that is there. We take help from team members as well who are specialized in that place. We give them direction. Do all the checks, the quality checks of everything, to make sure everything is going in the sync. As you know, it's a teamwork. Like the whole, if you see a data science project, it is in one individual, it is not possible. There are a lot of team members who are there in every component. And as a data scientist, as an experienced data scientist, you need to guide them and connect all the dots to a final output. Yeah.
Okay, and so let me go back to Raymond and ask you, Raymond, do you agree with the definition of Arshad's definition of data science? Because there's a lot of terminologies, and I know that some companies, let's say, use a specific title, but actually the tasks are different. So it's not like what Arshad said is wrong. It's just that, do you have a different view, or do you also agree with exactly what he said in terms of the tasks of a data scientist?
So I agree. I can't disagree, in fact. So I think definitely what he said works. But for us as a company, it works in just one area of the data science. So for us, for us as a typical day for or data scientist, we start by understanding the business that we are working with. So we talk about the business, why we do what we do, how we do it, and to get to know the exact business, to understand the data. So whenever we have data and what it means, and then we go into everything Arshad talked about. Our first part takes a lot more time with us before we get to anywhere near AI or machine learning. We do a lot of discussions. So especially if someone is already familiar with the business that we're talking about, we do a lot of reading and studying about the business. Then we move into data. And this is where things start getting crazy. I don't want to generalize, but there's a reason why the three people talking about data science are wearing glasses. So
Good point.
It's a sample of three, but but we spend a lot of time staring at our computers, trying to make sense out of data, trying to guess what things work and what doesn't, trying to get some kind of information of the data that we have that will help our customers, that will give them some kind of insight that they didn't know about their business before we started working with them. So just this part.
Yeah, I mean, we can agree and disagree about the definition of each role, but one thing that's definitely for sure is that if you're doing anything that's AI related, you need data, right? So whether you're a data scientist, data engineer, machine learning engineer, whatever it is, it all starts with data. And as you said, Raymond, you need to spend lots of time dealing with data, looking at computers, processing, understanding, visualizing, cleaning. I mean, data is like 80% of everything. So that's interesting. So let me jump to the next question, but I'm gonna stay with you, Raymond. And if someone asks you today, is it worth it for me to join data science as a field, right? Is it worth it? Yes or no? And why do you think that?
So I'm gonna talk about my experience with the team here, with my personal experience. So if I get too emotional, stop me, please. So,
we'll mute you.
So I started as a software developer and moved into data and data engineering and data science. So I did this move, and for me, so the short answer is it was worth it. It was. And it was a very nice switch for me. In the team where I work right now, we have people who come from a lot of different backgrounds and who all do data science with some effort. Definitely, I'm not saying that they woke up data scientists, but they put a lot of effort. And some of my teammates come from a civil engineering background. Some of them from a mechanical engineering background or electrical engineering. We have one of our superstars who comes from a philosophy major, who decided to switch. All of them, they have one thing in common: they love to explore. They have the curiosity to go and check what's missing. What is there? So and this is what if you want, what separates them from other people. With all the discussion that we have, I know everybody's happy doing what they are doing, spending days staring at the computer, but it's still something that we're happy to do. And I think from my experience till now, it's something really, it's worth it.
Great. I'm happy that you're dragging everyone at your company to join the data science and to start having data literacy, which I believe is one of the skills that everyone should have in this century. And the way things are moving forward, I think everyone should have at least data and how to understand data. Before I move to you, Arshad, just wanted to mention to all of the people listening that we will try to answer your questions during the discussion, but any question that is not answered will be answered at the end, because we have a Q&A section towards the end. So don't be disappointed or discouraged if your question isn't answered immediately. It's all going to be answered at the end. So moving back to you, Arshad, if you want to add anything to what Raymond said about joining the field, if it's worth it or not. But also, I want you to add, if someone wants to join the field today, what would they need to do? Like, what is the first step they need to take if they're interested in joining data science as a field?
Yeah, no, I want to add that this data science looks very fancy from outside, but the inside, the day-to-day, it is very much detail-oriented. You when you are working with data, you have to be very careful, and you have to give attention to minute details. And so it's not it looks very green from the grass, as it told, as a proverb, the grass is greener from outside. But when you get into this field, and when you I have been working for 16 years, and it is interesting, it is challenging, but it requires a lot of dedication, because this so anyone who, and this is the future for sure, this is one of the futures, this particular technology, the data science. There are others, but right now, as we are talking about data science, so this is, many companies are understanding how we can create value from data, many businesses. And so one thing that I forgot to talk about earlier, that this particular field, data science, is more focused, as Raymond also was telling, and I also was telling, to solve business problems. So, and anything that creates value to the business, that comes into data science, because we are not talking about the data science that is used in for research topics, by doing some R&D work. So those things are very separate domain, in that specific other skills are required. We are talking about how to use the data science capabilities to help the business. As Raymond also was mentioning, most of the time goes in understanding the business problems, how we can translate that into data, and how we can link everything. That is very important. And for doing that, we require a lot of technologies, that is for sure, but we can always start with learning the basic technologies, and then advance accordingly when it is not when that is not getting solved by the basic ones. So this field, so if anyone who wants to get into the field, the main thing that I will suggest is, the main skills that currently is required is, first of all, it is the technology part. He should be he should be very good in programming. If not in the sense, he should able to write a logic. It can be in any language. He should understand what has to be done, what logic has to be applied. It can be in SQL, it can be in Python, it can be R, or in any language, but he should understand what logic should be applied to create a particular feature, or anything that we are doing with the data. So that is one thing. And communication, because this thing is one of the things that is really some of the too technical people who are there in the field, they do a lot of hard work, but they're not able to communicate their results to the business, and then the value goes off. So that is also very important, how we can communicate our findings, and translate the data into into a business case. And that is also one of the skills. And the other skill that is there, it comes with experience, is the domain. So whichever domain you are, like I specifically have spent a lot of time on retail and consumer focused industry, so that becomes my expertise, in the sense I know what that domain very well. Similarly, people who are in the BFSI domain, banking domain, they who have spent years, they are very good, they know that way, that very well. So why I'm telling this, because a domain knowledge helps you focus on the data problem. So when we are talking about talking to the business, translating, in that your domain experience becomes very important, and that also grows with time, with your experience. That you cannot learn on any course or any program. That will come through when you're really working with that business. We are closely related. So to summarize, three things are very important. One was the technology, the communication, and the domain. So that I just summarize it by these three things.
Nice. And when you say technology, I'm assuming you mean like programming skills and ability to work with computers, to digital literacy, maybe.
Yeah, the main thing about technology here is logic, because the technology platforms will change. It may be AWS today, Azure tomorrow, or any GCP, but your logic, the logic building exercise. So whenever you have to, so that has to be there. That will come with experience when you are doing more and more of it. So that is the thing. Basically, syntax, as we all know, syntax you can always get on Google, but the thing is the logic. What is the best way you can solve, you can do a particular work. It can, that is if you are clear. Syntax you don't need to be very good at, you can always get it from Google, but you should know what has to be done, what are the steps. So suppose you need to do some X work, so you break it down into steps at the logic, and then how to do every step you can. So you don't need to, because many people get overwhelmed by the syntax and all those things. You don't need to know any of the syntaxes. You can always get it, but the logic should be, you should be very strong in fixing the logic, and you should. So that was the one of the things I talk about technology.
Okay, interesting. And so I'm gonna jump back to Raymond. So Arshad mentioned technology, domain, and what was the third one? Arshad, can you remember?
Communication.
Communication. Great. Which is exactly jumps into my next point. So aside or in addition to the technical skills that he mentioned, do you think we need some soft skills, like someone who wants to work in the field? Is there some soft skills needed for them to work in the field, or technically it's not really that much needed?
The thing with the data scientist, it's that we don't. The data scientist is usually has a voice that's usually heard up top in any industry or in any company. So whenever you're explaining as a data scientist your finding, you're not going to explain them to only your manager. You're going to explain to the C level. So this is why I totally agree with Arshad that communication is key. Communication and knowing how to communicate, not just telling the data, but telling the story behind the data and telling a story on how we can move things around or how things should be moved around. So one of the first soft skills is communication and the analytical thinking. So what Arshad also talked about as logic. So we need analytical and critical thinking to be able to move around in data science. So we need to be able to challenge what we have and try to find other things, other ways of doing things and exploring. So the third thing I would like to add following this point is the curiosity. So, and the courage to try things. So we need to be able to have the freedom to test the waters everywhere, try different things, even if they don't work. Spend the day trying to build a certain model, and then we find out that it doesn't work. We scratch it, we throw it back, we work on something else. This is easier said than done. So some organizations will allow you to do these kinds of experiences. Some of them will consider this you not doing your job. You should be able to do it from the start. This is where the communication skills also to close the circle. This is where our communication skills should play a big role when explaining to our managers that we are going to test and try to find something meaningful someplace, and we might find or not, or we're gonna build the model to predict X for us, and at the end of the day, the model has 50% accuracy. So so it's communication, analytical thinking, and courage.
And what if someone is joining, someone who's non-technical and would like to join the field? So you suggest that they would learn programming, or they need to learn, like, what would be the next step?
Uh, I'll start since I'm
Go ahead. Yeah.
My advice is to choose a technology and stick to it as start. So as Arshad also said, the technology doesn't isn't the real indicator here, but we need to start someplace. So if you start with a certain technology, you understand how it works, you can migrate all your knowledge to other technologies, but you need to start someplace. So programming is helpful, is a lot helpful, but sometimes you can do without it. We have a lot of tools, cloud tools. Someone's asking about the cloud computing, and so definitely everything's moving to the cloud. I totally agree with your question and with your analysis. I think Ahmad Ibrahim. So back to the question. A lot of tools will help us do data science without a lot of coding. So if we're talking about visualizing, or we can use Power BI or ClickSense or Tableau to show data without writing a lot of code, and with knowing just enough to be able to query the data. We can start from there and start building our knowledge. If we're talking about machine learning, instead of writing everything on Python from scratch, we can go into Azure machine learning, for example, or AWS, and build them with zero code. So if coding is not our strongest assets, but we are curious and we'd like to build our analytical thinking, there are a lot of ways to do it, and a lot of tools that will help us these days without starting by writing code.
Yeah, thank you, Raymond. I believe a lot of questions in the chat were about coming from a non-technical background and what do we need to know or do to enter the field. So I'm going to continue with you, Arshad. Feel free to add anything to this question, but also I would like you to tell us kind of your journey. How did you get started in data science? And briefly, what have you done so far? Like the things you've worked on, without going into too much details, but kind of the progression of what were the things you learned, the tools, the frameworks, and how you came to be a lead data scientist at multiple companies, and have the experience you currently have.
Okay, so about my journey, so back in 2005, I had joined Hewlett Packard. So I was a software developer there, and I got a chance. So in this one of my projects for HP.com, so it was they used web analytics. So that time the data was in Omniture for all the HP products, and we were doing reporting. So we were doing reporting in that time in ClickSense, and it was the data was coming from Omniture, and there was some transactional data, and we started the data. So I learned everything on job for most of my journey, and it started with reporting, and then there was a requirement to build a propensity model for HP products using online data and offline data. So that is how, and the software that we used that time was SAS. So I did not. We had to go through a formal training, which the company organized for SAS, and there I learned. It was very, as you know, when you need to do something, you have to be very quick. It was not a good. It was not a, you can say, an elaborate way of learning. It was just that much information that you can at least start rolling out some numbers. So I did few projects back then, and then so that is how my journey started. And then I did my masters from a college in Philippines, Asian Institute of Management. And after that, so that time when I was working in this project, I was just a junior resource who was doing the data analyst. So there was I was not doing the whole. I was not involved in the whole process end to end. I was just involved in understanding the data and doing some modeling, and then there was a I was part of the larger team. So I was just doing a small role of the data and a little bit of modeling. Uh, as later on after my MBA, I joined a company wherein I was a this was for a digital analytics consulting company called Absolute Data, wherein I learned more. So here, as I was telling, so I after doing my master's in business administration, so I had some business knowledge, domain knowledge, some work experience of uh, data. So that helped me getting into connecting all the dots and doing projects end to end. So that is why I was telling, when you get some experience, the company expects you to track things from the start, like business requirement analysis, and then also what is required. You may be having some junior resources to help you, but you need to at least do the whole thing. So that is how I did. The main languages I started with SAS, then I migrated, learned again R, that was there in this particular company, as well as there was a product like SPSS. So now Raymond was telling about a drag and drop. So SPSS also is like that. You don't need, once the data is ready in SAS, you can just input it into SPSS, and you can do a lot of statistical modeling with the click. So that was one of the plugin, you can say, no code softwares that was available at that time. So that also we used, worked for clients like Mondelez and Best Buy. And then I joined Accenture. So with my experiences, all these experiences, I slowly learned everything on the job. So I did not go to any specific analytics course or any learning. It was mostly on the job. And the major thing that I learned and spent a lot of time in understanding was statistics, because without any formal education, but the importance of statistics came to me when I was working. So this is one of the part that is very much neglected nowadays, is that to uh, use and the knowledge of your maths and statistics to do any EDAs and do any analysis. So that I had to spend a lot of time in making myself strong in that area, because that is very important to when you are doing any analysis and all those things. So these are the things regarding the modeling piece. As I was telling, we did mostly when we're doing a project, we start with the basic algorithms like linear, logistic, and random forest, and depending upon the requirement, we can always have an advanced model. But that is, and these models will keep coming up, so we learn everything, but at least we should know the basics of all the models and what is it doing, how can we do hyperparameter tuning. And so this is my experience. So right now also I am learning. So most of the time is, as Raymond also is telling, is understanding what features can we create, what is the target variable, how we can have a data to do our analysis, because most of the problem is with the data. Most of the We don't have a clean data, we don't have a structured data to do any analysis. So still, as of now, also most of my time goes there. More than say 70 to 80% goes there, and then after that, when everything is done, then the advanced analytics part come to the picture. But still, I am learning daily. There are new things that are coming up, and this field is very challenging, as you know. So that is my experience. So still, I'm learning every day. Some of the other thing I'm learning, how to optimize my code, how to do it in a better way. And one more thing I wanted to, when we're doing all this analysis, like one specific thing that with my experience I want to tell is that generally what happens is an outlier, people just remove an outlier, but an outlier will tell you much more information about business than the whole data itself, because that is a point that is so those things are very important in any analysis. So generally, the nowadays methods are there. If anything is up to 95%, we'll just remove it and all those things. But the other things you have to see, and you have to, as Raymond was saying, curiosity. So we have to see all these things, and we have to connect all our experiences to bring value to the business. Yeah, and my answer may be too long, but my journey was summarizing my whole journey.
You have a long journey, so it's only natural that the answer is going to be long. But thank you, Arshad, for sharing. And I really want to highlight one important point that you mentioned all through the journey, which is you learn on the job and you keep on learning. And this is very important because everything you currently know will become obsolete in like a couple of years, right? The pace at which the field is moving, the tools, the technology is moving really fast. So don't expect that, okay, I took this course or I built this knowledge and that's it. I can just sit back and kind of work on that. You always have to keep pushing yourself to keep, to become a self-learner and to keep learning new things and staying up to date. So I believe this is what made you maybe the lead data scientist and made you kind of an expert in this field, because you're always learning on what's currently updated in the field, what's the hot topic, how can I improve myself and my skills. So thank you, Arshad. Moving back to you, Raymond, what was your story like, and how did you kind of become the analytics manager? How did you build your profile, your skill set in the data field?
Well, I think we share a lot of common history, Arshad and I. So sorry if I'm repeating things you just heard. So, so I started also as a software engineer, and then I moved to a mobile operator when I started working with data science. Before it was called data science. I'm a bit older than what I look, so. And we were doing the majority of our work on Oracle, SQL, and Excel. So without any tools that were ready to help us a lot. I spent around three years there. Then I moved to the American University of Beirut, where I worked where I started working as my previous identity as a software developer. But soon I found myself drifting back to data and doing business intelligence, then artificial intelligence, and trying to cover everything under data science. After that, I moved here to Paragon Shift, where I'm able to get to know more industries and more in the consulting world, and getting to know more people, which I like. So so mainly this is in brief. As Arshad said, there's nothing, and as Chris you also highlighted, we are always learning. There's always new things in the market. There's always the newest, coolest toy in the market. There's always the newest technique that you need to follow, and also even with your partners, they always have updates, and you need to keep moving forward all the time. There's a lot of so I'm gonna answer some of the questions in that people are asking at the same time. So there's a lot of nice and very attracting videos on YouTube regarding data science that will help you start if you're not there already, or even if you're working with it. So I do tend to spend some time there, where some people will explain some new functionalities that are being used, or new terms, or even some old terms that we heard and we didn't go through deep enough, and how things work. And at times we're not really in the mood to pick up a book and start reading, or taking a research paper and reading it. So these are some light reading or some light information that can help. So for people who are asking about where do they start? If they see themselves watching more and more videos, so this means this is where they should start digging deeper. So this is something that they really like. So, or if they found themselves really, it's too technical and boring for them, I'd advise not to go there. It's not going to be a nice journey. I would advise people to try themselves out if they've never done it before, with some outsourcing work. So there are some websites that offer a lot of jobs, and some small jobs. So for a week, using some of the tools that you are learning. So if you're learning Python, you will have something, a position opened for a week, for a couple of days of work that pays a bit. That's good, but you will get to test yourself and test the market at the same time. So you can go to Upwork, you can go to dice.com, for example, and check the listings there. So if you want to start, you'll be working remotely, you'll be working on your own time, and you'll be able to identify what you want, and you'll be able to know where your comfort zone is and where you love, where you enjoy. Because at the end of the day, I bet you without knowing that Arshad will dream about his work like Chris does, like I do. So these are things we love to do. We love to spend time doing, looking at data and trying to get some sense out of it.
That's a great segue into kind of my next question. So, this is for you, Arshad, before we move back to Raymond. So someone, let's say, okay, started watching videos, started building some skills. I have a couple of questions. You can answer them in whatever order you think is good. The first question is, how do you feel or figure out that you're making progress? So how can someone feel like they're kind of building knowledge and making progress in the field? And maybe the next question would be, is building projects an important part to build a portfolio, or you have a different approach for that?
So I agree with Raymond, whatever he was saying regarding the starting of journey and all those things about a person who's interested. But with my experience and what I have seen is there is mainly two parts of how this particular learning cycle. One is theory, the knowledge that surely we can get through YouTube and everything, and one is applying it, doing it. So this particular field, you will. It is told that when you hear it, you will forget it in in next day. But when you do it yourself, you will remember it for a longer time. So that is one thing that you need to do it. So whatever you are seeing, whatever you should, if it is a code in Python, if you are seeing a code, you should practice it yourself. You should do it. You should try to enhance it. You should try to see the functions that are there. Suppose you are doing a particular task, like just for example, you are finding the second most highest salary for an employee. There are 5, 6 methods to do it. One method you saw in the video. Try to do it this in a different method. Try to do it with CT or subquery. Try to do it with a window function. So there are different ways you can practice and learn. So that is one thing that I will suggest. Videos will give you basically, as I was telling earlier, they will help you giving the theory, but you have to practice all these particular things. Your second question was basically, and one more thing I wanted to say, like data science can be overwhelming. As I was telling earlier, there are a lot of new things that keep coming in. But when a person wants to enter this field, no one will expect him to know everything. So there are basically two parts where he can enter. One is the data analyst part of that is who will be responsible to just to analyze the data that is there already in the database and build some reports and do some EDS. So they should focus in those particular regions. So what I have seen, no one will hire a person who's entering into the field directly as a data scientist. They will come as in the entry positions are basically, one is the data engineering part, that is a separate topic from this what seminar that we are having. Another is the data analyst part, or the BI analyst, the people who are responsible to build reports, or just people who have some knowledge on machine learning, who will just do the machine learning part. So that is the entry level. So you should focus. If a person has a background in computer science, who has already learned machine learning in their college, they can try to get into the machine learning part. But for the rest of the people who are who are non-technical and all, they can learn some basic technologies like SQL, Python, a little bit of Power BI dashboards, and get into a data analyst. So you will enter in one field with whatever experience you have, and then you will grow in your career. As in, you will when you start working as a data analyst, slowly you will learn about machine learning. You will learn about the whole life cycle of a data science project. So that you should not get over and there is so much in data science. How can I learn? You should just focus on getting entry into the field. Once you enter the field, then you will grow as in you will get opportunities. Before you need to focus on one part, get good in it, and then slowly build. So I will focus. That's why when I tell the people who ask me mainly to focus on the basics. The basics, once your basics is strong, you can clear it and enter the field, and then you can build on your basics. Yeah, that's it.
Definitely. Have a strong foundation allows
Yeah.
you to scale pretty fast.
Yes.
That's a great answer. Raymond, quickly, as a data and analytics manager at Paragon Shift, right? What are the skills you look for when, let's say, you're interviewing a data scientist for a position? What are the things that someone has to develop or showcase or build to kind of attract recruiters in this field?
So usually what we do, we believe we're strong believers that we hire for personality and we train the skills. So the interviews that we do are a bit specular. So we don't do a lot of technical questioning. We do a lot of personal questioning. So we try to have a discussion as easygoing as this one. So we talk with the candidates. We spend a lot of time. So we do 2 or 3 interviews where we're just discussing things, discussing their previous life, how we do, because we do believe that an interview is a two-way interview. So at the same time, we need the people to be convinced that they want to work with us. At the same time, we need to be convinced that these people, that we need to be working with the candidates. We care a lot about how we deal with when facing problems, how we think about how the candidate thinks about solving a problem. We don't do the whole Google questionnaire. We just talk, and it's an open discussion. And then we invite them to another and a third discussion. This is what we do. What we are finding right now that in the market here, we have a severe lack of resources who know what we are searching for. I know that there are a lot of people coming out of Zaka who know AI, but as I told you before, AI is just one part of what we do. It's really hard to find someone who knows everything. So when we're trying to recruit someone, I don't look for what their technical knowledge is. I'm really interested about them being people who can learn fast, who can do fast, who can find a problem and see how they can solve it, and then we have a hard conversation about joining.
Interesting. So no skills are required to join Paragon Shift. I'm kidding.
Yeah, mainly it falls when I look at the team, and I told you the profiles of some of our team members. I think it's more no technical knowledge, as long as we're learning, we're earning. We want to learn, so we don't mind. We have our probation period. Mainly, it's about getting certified, learning new technologies, learning business intelligence from different angles, be it from the Microsoft angle, from Click angle, from other angles, and at the same time, learning how, when we talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning, what do we mean by it? We also work with data engineering, as Arshad talked about. So also we'd like our people to be rounded in this area. So I don't want everybody to be specialized in everything, but I want we'd love that everybody understand everything and be able to be specialized in one thing. So I have my data engineers, but at the same time, they know how to build a dashboard. They know how to build a machine learning algorithm or model. They're the best in their data engineering, but other people are the best in their machine learning and their model.
Yeah, and I agree with your approach. I mean, skills can always be taught, but personality and character and passion is something that's sometimes unique to specific people. So we also hire for character at Zaka, and the skills are always. I mean, we do train skills, right? This is what we do.
Exactly.
So I agree with you on that. And okay, that's perfect. I'd like to continue on what you said, Raymond, and talk a bit about like 5 minutes about something that's very exciting for us at Zaka. So as you mentioned, our graduates are great at machine learning or at AI in general, because we have a program called the Machine Learning Certification, which graduates machine learning engineers. But today, we're excited to be launching the new career track that we have, which is data science. Because as you said, as we've been discussing today, there's a lot of details about this whole field. AI is not just building models. AI is not just doing data. It's a bit of everything, and we need to kind of be able to graduate different skill set or different specializations, let's say. And so that's why we're excited today to launch our data science career track. And so I'm going to take a couple of minutes to walk you through what is this program and what is the curriculum. And then after that, we can wrap up the session and start answering the questions. If you can just share the slides, please, so I can start. All right, perfect. So we're talking about you, and by you, I mean anyone who is interested in kicking off their journey in data science, right? What can you do to kick off your journey in data science? Obviously, there's a lot of resources out there. We've discussed them today. You can watch YouTube videos, you can take courses, you can read books. There's plenty of resources. The only maybe disadvantage is that there's plenty of things and you might get lost and confused. Where should I go next? What's the next move? How should I take my next move or whatever? So instead of to make your life easier and to reduce the time you need to reach where you need to go, we want to launch or basically tell you about our AI certification process. So AI certification is a program that we've launched already. We have the machine learning engineer as a career path, and today we're adding the data science as a career path. So you can either graduate as a machine learning engineer or as a data scientist. And so the program basically has 4 different outcomes. So you can either join the program if you're interested in landing a job or joining a company in the region as a data scientist or a machine learning engineer, because we have a partner of companies. And by the way, Paragon Shift is one of the companies in our partner network, and they will be tomorrow present at the career fair networking day. So they will get to network with our graduates and get to meet them. And so upon graduation from our programs, you get to meet companies regionally and globally who are interested in working with data scientists or machine learning engineers. So that's one of the program outcomes. You can be interested in launching your own startup. So you have an idea that requires AI or data science or machine learning, and you don't know how to build that. So joining the program allows you to basically launch your startup project. You can be basically someone who is employed, who have a job at a specific company, but you're interested in advancing your career role. So shifting to a data science or machine learning engineer position within the company, or maybe just interested in taking freelance projects and understanding the skills to apply them for your project. So these are the outcomes from this program. The program is 16 weeks long. These are the high-level curriculum of what we cover in that program. So we start with the orientation and prep work, which is the first week, to make sure that everyone is aligned with the same prerequisites. Then we have a whole week dedicated to data science foundations, 2 weeks of machine learning foundations, where we cover different machine learning algorithms, clustering, classifications, unsupervised, supervised, everything. Then week number 4, we dive into statistical model validation and testing. So how do we evaluate models and how do we compare them? How do we improve them? All of those things. Then week 5 is where we take our first break so that your head is relaxed a bit. And then we dive deeper into week 6, with advanced data types. We cover basically how to deal with text, how to deal with images, how to deal with time series signals, geospatial data, so different data types that you can encounter as a data scientist. And then week 7, we dive into deep learning a bit. We cover neural networks. Week number 8 is focused on data science toolkit. So what are the frameworks and the tools that you should use as a data scientist? Week number 9, we go a bit outside of the lab and we go to the deployment, to the production environment. So how do what are the tools that we use to deal with data at scale? We cover a bit data processing and the data streaming, all of those advanced, let's say, production level frameworks. And then finally, week number 10, we go back to storytelling with data, because as you mentioned today, data scientists should be able to tell a story with the data that they have. So this is week number 10. Then we take another break, and week number 12 is focused on research and hot topics. So we've been saying this today as well. It's a field that's moving really fast, and you need to keep up with the progress, and you need to know how do you keep up with this progress. And so during this week, we usually bring speakers, experts in specific fields to come and share with our participants what are they working on, what is some exciting field that they're currently working on as a project or solution or whatever. And then the last 3 weeks is focused on the capstone project. So you have to build a project to graduate from this program. And this is where you get to apply all the skills that you've learned during the previous 12 weeks to build a very exciting project. And finally, week number 16 is the career fair week, where you get to network with our companies, present your projects, and hopefully get some opportunities. So currently we are in the career fair week of this current cohort, and the upcoming cohort starts in July. And basically, if you're interested, I'll tell you later how you can join. But quickly, let me just cover a bit some of the tools and projects. So this is a very hands-on program. So everything that you will learn, it's going to be applied hands-on skills. You will be working on your coding skills. You'll be writing code, getting your hands dirty, building a small project every week, from sentiment analysis to household power predictions to market basket analysis. So there's a plenty of small project that you'll be building week after week to get your hands dirty and to build practical knowledge in the field. So who can attend this program? Who is this program for mainly? If you're looking to upgrade your skills and land a job in machine learning or data science, then this is the program for you. If you want to transition into the world of AI and you are wondering where to begin, this program is for you. And if you are looking to introduce cutting-edge technologies to existing solutions or business, this program is for you. So if you're interested in joining the program, you can send an email to academy@zaka.ai and just mention, I'm interested, and the team will follow up with you, will schedule a call or answer all your questions, give you all the details you need, and hopefully have you join us for our upcoming program, which starts in July. So this is it for the data science career track. We're excited to hopefully see you with us in July. I'm gonna go back to my speakers, to the guest speakers, and ask them one last question. Any last advice that you would give for people interested in joining, starting, or maybe landing a job in data science fields? Let me start with Arshad, and then we'll go back to you, Raymond.
Yeah, my final words will be don't get overwhelmed by a lot of topics and everything. It focus on what data is there, how can we solve the business problem. Think a little bit more. Why are we using water? Think why are we using water? What basically you should always have the curiosity, and so that is a way you will be. You will learn and you will be excited to work in this particular field. You have to be curious and you have to start and give from the basics and then build on your because once you know the basics, it's very easy, as you were also telling Chris, it's very easy to uh, uh, build on it. You can because algorithms, you see the algorithms and all these things are there to make your life easy. the basic thing is it is just as you also mentioning, it's just a tool from our toolkit to help us solve it. So take it like that, and as you grow in experience, you will know which tool to use when. And but you should know the basics. The basics come into picture, because once your basics is good, you can always ride the wave. That's it from me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Arshad. And thank you for being with us today. Raymond, any last advice for our listeners?
Yeah, so my advice is when you look at everything we're talking about, it might seem overwhelming and it might seem a very big mountain to climb. But in fact, I don't want to promise you that it's not. There's a lot that we do, but it all started with one step, and the steps are easy. It's not a steep mountain. It's not a very high peak. There's some learning to have, but it's not that much. It's not as overwhelming as you might think. Start somewhere where you feel comfortable and start exploring around you. Baby steps. Everywhere, every day, try to learn something new. Every week, try to learn something new. And before, have the courage to test test yourself on something you didn't know before. And just keep on getting better and learning more and more. This is my advice. This is at least what helps us here.
Yeah.
Great, amazing.
I'd like to thank you, Chris, and it was really nice to meet you, Arshad. For this opportunity, I'd like to thank the guys in the chat for their nice words about how we're doing things. You can find us on LinkedIn also if you'd like to talk, or on our wherever you want.
And for our graduates, because I saw a lot of them in the chat, you will meet Raymond tomorrow in the networking session for our networking day in the career fair. So before we leave, Raymond, if that's okay, we still have a couple of questions we haven't answered, so maybe we can wrap up with the questions and then we can close this session. So someone asked, is it better to go to a generalist data science position or specialize in a field of machine learning or data engineering? Who would like to answer this? Go ahead, Raymond.
Not me. I was going to say not me because I don't know the answer, because both work. It depends a lot on what you like. So if you like to be more of a generalist and seeing things from a helicopter point of view, you can do it. It's good. You can get places there. Or if you like to be very specialized, very narrow, it's good. You can get anywhere you like there. You'll get the industry is really big enough for both people, for both roles to work, to get you places, to get you known, to get you great projects. It's just more about what you like, how you'll be enjoying your time more.
Yeah. So
I didn't want to answer, and I did all this. Sorry.
No. That is a good answer, good summarization. Just one thing is that, with my experience, when you start into the field, it is better to specialize in one particular area. As I was telling, like data analysis or any tool. So many of the so in big companies like back in India or in US, so there are roles that are specific to Tableau. So they look for Tableau developers, they look for Power BI developers, they look for people who are only doing SQL. So those things are a good point to enter the field. Once you enter the field, and then you learn other things, and you should always have like in my case, in my 16 years, I was specialized in one particular area, but I knew everything. Right now, the stage is there. Right now, for me, the stage is that I have experience of specialization in everything, so I'm a generalist. But you need to work in this field, you need to be a specialist. Then only you will be able to know the things. You may not, at the current moment, you may not be a specialist, but you know with your past experience that when I was in this particular scenario, what I did, how I did, and you can help your team members, your junior resources to do that. So that is how you will grow in the field. You have to start specializing or component by component, and then later on, as you grow in experience, then you will be and at a stage where you have at least done everything you are specializing in everything, and so you can be a generalist for all the components. So it depends upon project to project. So that's why it's a very, as Raymond says, it's not an easy answer, but you always start as a specialist, if I can say, and then you grow later on in your career, and then you. It's not that you, as a generalist, no one will. It will be tough for you to enter the field. You will not. You
Mm.
need to know at least one thing good, then only you can enter the field. So
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense.
yeah.
Um, okay, so I think we answered Rafa's question about advice for people who are coming from non-technical background on how to enter the field. Ahmad asked about cloud computing and is it essential for data science? Raymond said yes, it's important. Everyone is moving to the cloud, so having some skills in dealing with the cloud resources, with maybe using some platforms or some tools in the cloud is very essential. Um, so Ahmad asked where to look for data science work, freelance or entry level work, and can a beginner work remotely as a data scientist? Who wants to answer this question?
Yeah, so I found a lot of people searching for junior data scientists to do small things, either on dice.com or Upwork. There are a lot of jobs there that can help you start. So just choose something that you're comfortable with doing at the start, and then start building your profile.
Great answer. Um, Arshad, you want to add something, or
Yeah,
we answer?
one tip for freelancers specifically is in any platform that you are doing, try to first do projects for free. Don't just have the minimum you can say rate, so that at least you are getting work for experience, and once you keep delivering a project and you get a good rating, then you will be able to get more projects. But as a learning, you one advice is we do it, try to do it for free if possible, and if there is a minimum rate, try to do that, get the job, finish the job, and then that's how you will build your profile and you can get more work. So that is one tip I can
Mm.
give for freelancers specifically.
We have a very interesting questions from Sulaiman in the chat. Does someone learn better or faster when working as a full stack scientist for a startup, or better when they work as part of a bigger, maybe tech team dedicated for data science and machine learning? And also, which is better for the long term?
We'll go.
Anyone? Okay, go ahead, Arshad.
So yeah, this also really depends. This word, full stack scientist, is something that this term is there's no basically a person who does everything. So generally, it really depends upon. As an entry, when my suggestion will be when you try to enter the field, then it is better to be the later part. So
Mm.
because that you will have at least a structured way of working and learning. The other one when it is a startup, because it is, as you know, in startup you have to wear many hats, and as a person who enters, it becomes very tough. He will be stuck in a particular area and he will not be able to bring value. So for my suggestion will be to try to start your career in a team that has dedicated to data science, and then as you skill up, then you can surely think about working in a startup which have where you can do everything, where it's expected you to wear different hats and do everything. And for growth, it is basically it depends upon the company you are, because startups, as you know, many of the startups fail. So so and it depends upon your risk taking appetite and your
Yeah.
uh, and other
Uh,
things as well. But you can surely do that.
Yeah, but in terms of learning, I believe the biggest learning experience is when working in a startup, because you wear multiple hats and you push yourself to learn, because you have to do everything yourself, right? So you have to learn all of those things. Whereas when you're working in a big team, your only task is limited to doing A, B, and maybe C sometimes, and that's it, right? But I agree with what you said. So if someone is starting
Yes.
fresh, going alone in a startup is very confusing, much harder, because you have to figure out yourself if you're doing something correctly or not. Whereas if you started with in a team and a structure and having someone senior who can guide you, they can put you on the right track, and then you can have some good foundations. But I believe for the long run, you need to work in a startup and to have this multiple hats wearing, because this is where the real experience happens.
Yeah, agree.
I'd like to add one thing. It also depends a lot on how the person sees his future. So if someone wants to build a startup, it's really good to start working in a startup before building his own startup and gather all the experience on the expenses of someone else rather than his own expenses. So this is one thing. So it depends also on our future goals. And I totally agree with you guys. So learning steeper, it's gonna be in a startup where mainly you're not gonna be sleeping a lot, where where in a job in an already established team you'll have enough sleep. So
Yeah, you sleep. Interesting. Okay, we still have a couple of questions, I think. Rohan asked, how do technical recruiters test your skills when applying for a data science job? Raymond does not test skills, so I'm kidding. Again,
no, it's of course we don't, but we went through everything before we chose what we are doing right now. There are a lot of places where they offer. There are platforms they ask you to go sign in, run some tests, and give them the results, or even some logical testing, something like this. So you can expect anything from recruiters. It depends a lot on the company and what culture they want to implement there. I'm not saying that we're the best and everybody who's doing something else is bad. I'm just saying everyone has a different way of doing it. I've seen a lot of people going through the logical tests. For anybody who's going to work with AI or BI, and a lot of technical SQL querying, and for everyone who's moving into more of a data engineer type of work. So you can expect anything in between.
Yeah. To add to Raymond, other than the coding skills, one thing is how you are talking about a project that you have done and basically translating it in very plain English, like the algorithm that you have used, why have you used, what is that algorithm doing, what. So those things also are really being tested. Like for example, if you have in a project that you have done, maybe it is in a previous company or as your capstone project, why did you select random forest? How can you explain me random forest? And how you explain in simple English, and how you and why you use random forest compared to the other algorithms. So these things are also tested. So right now, a lot of details about the maths going is behind is not tested, but these are the things. Basically, the overall picture. How can you talk about that particular algorithm in a simple manner? That is also being tested.
great. We have. I'm not sure if it's a question, but Lulu said, I live in the Middle East and have the skills of a data analyst. However, I found it extremely difficult to break into the field. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if break into the field you mean find the job, but maybe I would suggest build a portfolio of projects, build some experience that showcases that I know what I'm talking about. I have the skills to build whatever you need me to build, because this is something like I say to everyone who asks me what's the easiest thing or best way for me to find a job, and I say just build build practical experience and showcase that. So share it on GitHub or write a blog or something that really shows that you've done this, and then recruiters will immediately notice, your profile.
One thing, Chris.
Yeah.
Sorry. The nice thing about data science is that it's portable. So whatever Arshad is working on in India, we're working on it the same in Lebanon. Our customers are doing the same in the US. So it's very global. So don't limit yourself to the area where you're living. So and my advice to everyone around, I'll tell them, what is it that you really like? So what you're passionate about. If you tell me football, great, go to the football sites, check their careers, and you will find definitely 1 or 2 or 10 football clubs that are looking for data scientists. And some of them would be looking for someone remote. And you'll be able to be working in football analytics. If this is something you would like, you'll be able to do it while sitting at home, because this is how, so we never talked in this discussion why we're doing it. Well, I'm doing it for these customers, for the customers that I really love working with, that I really love the industry. I don't want, for example, I don't like doing what Arshad is doing, working with retail, and this is something that doesn't really ring a bell for me. I'll do the project, but I wouldn't be happy, for example. But give me something that has some sports insights or something different, I'll be working day and night. And these are things with the skill set of data scientists, it's very portable, it's very global.
Nice. I guess we've answered all the questions. So I'd like to thank you again. Thank you, Raymond, for joining us. Thank you, Arshad. It was a very interesting discussion. I hope it was useful for our listeners and our audience. Hopefully, you guys will be able to kick off your journey or find a job in the field or whatever your goal is. Raymond, we'll see you tomorrow in the career fair. Arshad, we'll see you later at future events and webinars. Thank you again for your time, and thank you for the listeners for your questions and for joining us. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.